You're listening to the Options Insider Radio Network, the home of the Options Podcast. For more quality options programs, visit theoptionsinsider.com or search for Options Insider Radio Network in your podcast provider of choice. Listeners can also access all of our programming through our mobile app available in the iTunes and Google Play stores. Select programs are also available via live stream at mixlr.com/options-insider. That's mixlr.com/options-insider. Don't forget to follow along with your favorite programs and submit your own questions for the hosts at twitter.com/options, stocktwits.com/options, facebook.com/theoptionsinsider, or via questions at theoptionsinsider.com. The Options Insider Radio Network is sponsored by Fidelity Investments. Fidelity's Option Trade Builder tool can help you confidently build an options trade in 3 simple steps. Just choose a strategy, select a contract, and then review the benefits and risks of the trade. Learn more about Option Trade Builder at fidelity.com/options. Options trading entails significant risk and is not appropriate for all investors. Certain complex option strategies carry additional risk. Before trading options, contact Fidelity Investments by calling 800-544-5115 to receive a copy of the characteristics and risks of standardized options. Fidelity Brokerage Services, LLC, member NYSE SIPC. And now, it's time for the show that breaks down the options market. From unusual activity alerts to market analysis, strategy overviews, listener questions, and much more. If it involves puts and calls, then our all-star panel will break it down. It's time to hit the option block with your host, Mark Longo from the Options Insider Media Group, and co-hosts Uncle Mike Tussaw from RCM Asset Management, Andrew the Rock Lobster Giovinazzi from OptionPit.com, and Mark the Greasy Meatball Sebastian from OptionPit.com. And now, get ready to hit the option block.
All right, everybody. That rockin' tune means it's time to rock out once again with the option block. My name is Mark Longo, coming at you live here, noon Central, 1 p.m. Eastern, for a little bit of dose of the old bi-weekly option block. Of course, if you can't join us live, you can grab the old podcast. Pretty much wherever you get your favorite shows, try to get it out a lot earlier to you these days. It makes it even easier for you to listen, sometimes same day even, which is always fun. So grab that feed, set it and forget it. And, of course, you can always grab our mobile app if that gets you everything. That gets you the whole kit and caboodle. So tune on in there if you haven't done so already. Of course, however you listen, live after the fact, hit us up, questions, comments, insights. I'm sure you guys have a lot of questions about what's been going on in the market the last few days, last few weeks, really. It's been kind of crazy town. We're here for you. We're here to break it all down for you. And to help me do just that, I am joined by my cohorts, my partners in all things financial, at least option-related crime. Let's go out to the hinterlands first. Welcome back, Mr. Uncle Mike Tussaw. Uncle Mike, we missed you on Monday. Glad to have you back, sir. How are things in the land of St. Charles Wealth Management?
Always, every day's a holiday, every meal's a feast. I am actually excited about this pullback in some ways because I've said rule number 1, don't get your face ripped in, and I didn't get my face ripped in, and this gives me a chance to possibly make some money if the market snaps back. So I'm pretty excited, actually.
There you go. Uncle Mike, the Permabull, excited. Mr. Meatball, you're more of a cynical, dry-hearted Mr. What do they say about the Grinch? His heart is 10 sizes too small, something like that. That's more you. What are you feeling these days, sir?
You know, I got to wonder whether this anemic VIX with these crazy moves is a sign that the sell-off's getting tired. Not saying that, yesterday we closed down on the year and the VIX can't even reach a new high. To me, that says tired, maybe, waiting around. We had some good earnings done last night, and then we've got a lot of earnings tonight. So I'm wondering whether, if Amazon, Google, and the like don't disappoint, whether we get a nice leg up tomorrow.
We shall see. Certainly getting one today, so let's get to it. It is time for the trading block.
It's time to break down the latest topics, trades, and trends in the world of options. It's time for the Trading Block.
All right, everybody, let's get to it. Time to break down what the heck is trading, and a lot is trading. If you've been watching the markets this week, I think there's a lot of different phrases for it. WTH is probably the more family-friendly way to go for it. As my little guy would say, what the? It's been a lot of that going on this week. I've seen a lot more adult versions of that coming our way, as well as we've just kind of been whipsawing all over the place. The last few sessions, it seemed like the market really couldn't catch, the bulls really couldn't catch a break. We were continued downside. Yesterday, of course, the bottom really falling out there. All the major indices off multiple percentages, as Mr. Meatball alluded to. We're pretty much flat on the year, or even down for a little bit there on some of the major indices. So it's been crazy town. Today, of course, the narrative changing a little bit, the worm turning here on the backs of some good earnings, and maybe everyone having a chance to catch their breath there in the after hours overnight session today. Most of the major indices are up and up big. We got the S&P, kind of the Goldilocks in the middle there, up a mere 1.7%. Oh, pshaw to that. So about 44, about 45 handles. Hovering right near the high. We got up to about 27.05 today. Right now we're about 3.5 handles shy of that. So still close to the high on the day. They're not giving up the ghost or anything quite yet. Got the Dow up a measly 1.5%, or people love to quote the Dow because it's got the points just sound so much more impressive. So we'll do it for you because you like it. 355 points, even though nobody who trades it. If you trade the Dow, raise your hand. Hit me up. I'm sure some people do. Just nobody I know. Joking, of course. You guys exist. And let's see, the Qs, the tech-heavy NASDAQ, leading the dance today, as it has been wont to do for a while now, leading to the downside, leading to the upside, up just a tick under 3%, about 2.9% up there. And as the Meatball alluded to, VIX can only get so backwards. I mean, I never say never. You know, things can always get bit up even more out of control. But lately, it seems like VIX has, at least in the near term, maybe met its match a little bit. We saw sell-offs and we saw VIX cash not quite maybe getting the full head of steam up that maybe people thought, probably a lot of that due to the fact that it already had a good head of steam behind it. That curve was already getting pretty juicy, pretty backwards. Only so much that rational minds can do to really bid up everything before calmer, saner heads prevail. That's kind of what we're seeing here today. VIX cash off over 2 handles, about 2.25 handles, hovering right around the 23 handle right now. So still got a ways to go on the downside before my crystal ball is looking good. But yeah, you never know. The day is young. We got about 24 hours left for this great vol implosion to hit us. And then my crystal ball will look ever so pretty, ever so delightful, as it did last week yet again. Let's start. Mr. Uncle Mike, you were off on Monday, so it's been a while since we checked in with you. So let's start there. It's been a crazy topsy-turvy week. We've been selling off. Now we're rallying. What's it been like for you this week, Mr. Permabull, and what's going on in the land of St. Charles, sir?
Mr. Permabull. Everyone always likes to say that on weeks like this. So, no, I'm excited from the standpoint that I'm long-term bullish, short-term cautious, and I'm for the aggressive portfolio that I manage. We're actually up pretty significantly still on the year. We were able to hang on to a lot of our gains going down, and that's just because I'm short-term cautious. If you have to be paranoid of events like this happening. And if you're paranoid about events like this happening and this pullback over the last couple of weeks, then they can turn into a potential opportunity for you. And that's kind of where we're at right now. Yeah, we lost some money on the way down, but we held on to a vast majority of our profits that we've been able to have on the year for our aggressive portfolio. So in terms of what's going on in the overall market, we have a lot going on. We have earnings after the bell today, just trying to steal some thunder from around the block a little bit. But after the bell today, we have some earnings that could really move the market. What's kind of been the tone so far in a lot of the earnings that have been coming out, especially in the chips, has been along the lines of a lot of the CEOs have been saying, well, we can't trade with China like we would like to, so that's the reason that we're not making any money. So the China sensitivity does appear to be factoring into the market right now, but I'm not convinced. I mean, that should have been in the market a while ago because this is nothing new. So that's one area where it's definitely been a part of what's been happening. Some other things that are going on, of course, we have the reporter from the Saudi Arabia reporter incident. That's a big thing in the macro level. Speaking of Saudi Arabia, that leads me to oil. Oil has definitely come down a little bit, and the theory is that voters, with the midterm elections coming up, they typically like high stock markets and low gas prices. We still have a relatively high stock market, and on the year this year, we're up maybe, S&P's up maybe like 1% on the year right now.
It is up 20 points.
20 points. Okay, so
on
now
the
you're
year.
1%. Okay, got it. So with that, give it another 30 seconds. We'll get those extra 7 points we need to make it go up 1%. So with that being said, we have half of what voters like. By comparison, markets are still relatively high historically, of course, and we just had a pullback in oil. Now, what's interesting is that oil stocks have really taken more of a beating than oil itself recently. So if you look at XLE, for example, bring that one up, XLE is at levels that it has not been at since March. And if you look from February and March, we were around these levels and we were channeling for a couple months. Then we had a big rally, and then we came right back down 6 months later to where we are right now. Now, if you look at crude oil, crude's down. It's down from 76 to 67, 76 being the peak that it was roughly 3.5 weeks ago. But I believe that the pullback in the actual stocks themselves is more significant than the pullback in oil. Now, of course, I think that's related to the market coming down and adding some extra fuel to the fire, so to speak. But that is something with which to take note. My beloved Apple. Apple is still kind of sticking around the 220 mark throughout all this. 52-week high in Apple is at the 233 level. Apple's down at 219 right now, so it's taken some lumps, but it is still there. And I guess the main message that I would have for what's been going on recently is that, yeah, this is a pullback, no doubt about it. What's been hit the most from what it appears to me are a lot of the chips as well as the industrials. And financials have been hit as well. And so I believe that right now, if you were able to not get burned in your short put spreads or levered calls, whatever the case may be, then I think we're going to look back on this in a few more months as a pretty nice buying opportunity for where we are.
Uncle Mike feeling the bullish love. No surprise there. It might even go so far as to say, Uncle Mike, that these weeks are kind of the reason you spend so much time looking to pay for puts. Is that a fair assessment, sir?
It's a very fair assessment. I think that in times like this is when things like that come in handy. For the hedge strategic night, we still have a long ways to go before we're even at our line in the sand. It's exciting in that I've gotten, in the last 2 weeks, I think I've gotten one phone call out of concern for the market, and that's it.
And that was me. I called because I was nervous.
What's going on? Talk me off the ledge, Uncle Mike. You're so calm.
I said, "Help me, Michael!
Help me, Uncle Mike. You're my only hope."
I told him to just buy a bunch more VIX calls.
Yes, he did.
Was it a blue? Was it a blue
kind of
scratch? Was it a blue kind of scratchy hologram? Did it come in on a robot in your thing and say, "Help me, Uncle Mike. You're my only hope." But you're right. People don't think about underperforming to the downside as outperforming. Yet exactly that's what you're doing when you're looking to pay for puts and hedging, so you don't lose all that money. So you still got a decent chunk of cash left when these crazy weeks happen. So then you can turn around and put that money to use. And then, what happens? You outperform. So yeah, that's why you spend all that time looking for hedges and for protection for weeks like this. So give Uncle Mike a call if you have not done so already. Or send a hologram like the Meatball does. Mr. Meatball, things must have been rocking and rolling in the pit chat over the past week or so. It's just madness abounding, VIX going crazy, volatility going crazy, realize vol actually existing again, all sorts of madness. What's been catching your eye out there? What's been lighting up the crazies in the pit chat these days, sir?
Yeah, like I said, it's been a big move. We were down on the year. VIX went fully backward. But I mean, we're still fully backward, right? November is 2075, December is 1906. There's a seasonality in December. January is 1955, Feb 1935, and even April is 1910. If you put the seasonality out of December, it would be trading more like 1990. So everything is backward. That is a bearish expectancy for the market. We're 20 points up on the year, and only because we're having a 37-point rally today. All of my, in our broad cap hedge fund at Carmen Line, all of my de-hedged indicators are firing, and we're long. We have directly stepped in and bought long VIX exposure. I do see a lot of deals out there. I think that there are a lot of hot names that have been crushed. Take a look at NVIDIA or AMD. NVIDIA went from 300 to 200 in an instant. It's like Carnation Instant Breakfast. It was that fast. AMD, think about this. AMD, between last earnings cycle and this earnings cycle they had yesterday, it doubled in price and then went back to where it came. Like one of the more unbelievable things I've ever seen. It's like the previous earnings, AMD's going up forever. Now it's toast. And AMD and NVIDIA are both hard to borrow now. They're on the reg show list, which is shocking when you consider how big those companies are.
Yeah, these aren't cheapy, biotech $2 names that, people want to crush to death kind of thing. Yeah, I'm looking at the 2-year charts of AMD and NVIDIA here, and it's like they're very similar in many ways. It's like an inverted U going on there. There's a inverted V. There's a huge pop, and then, oh no, kind of going on. But yeah, NVIDIA has kind of been off to the races for a long time. Maybe you can argue that some of this has been overdue, but maybe not to this degree and not this quickly. You're right, 100 handles.
Seems like they've gone a little overboard on these chip names. When major chip names are going hard to borrow, that's got to tell you that the gig is getting up.
And so I just want to hit on something you mentioned before earlier. As Uncle Mike's talking about, he thinks maybe we're heading for the beginning of the end. It sounds like you think your Carmen Line models say more vol ahead, not less.
No, my Carmen Line models don't predict vol. They just say whether or not you should have a hedge on. And right now, my models all say be hedged, and that's fine. So they're not saying we're going up, we're going down. They just say the market is volatile, and the answer is yes.
So that's you buying 10,000 VXX50s at a clip, right? That's you up there all day, just gobbling up VXX upside, right? That's the hedge.
Yes. Yeah.
You're supposed to laugh at that, sir.
Do you see all these calls going up, by the way, in SPX? I've never seen so much upside call bidding. A guy just tried to buy the 3,300 calls. I've seen the D3000s, the June 3100s, and the June 3400s all get quoted.
D's 3,300.
The D's 3,000.
Oh, 3,000. D's 3,000. Okay, Okay, March 30th. That makes it that much more. That's less crazy because it's March. you got a whole quarter more for that madness to kick in. But you're right. Yeah, there is some crap. I'm looking here at the SPX numbers. We're already at the full day's ADV here at a little bit past noon central here. So things are still rocking and rolling. Speaking of rocking and rolling, perhaps in the literal sense with this name, we always joke here on the show. It's big earnings season, so names are popping off left, right, and central. We always joke here on the show. We're old school 80s wrestling fans, maybe a little bit of modern stuff too. But WWE has been just blowing the doors off everything from a stock perspective this year. In fact, they were, I believe, number one until this morning. They were number one on the IBD 50 for those of you who track such things. So WWE just crushing faces across the board here until this morning when they were coming out with some guidance that perhaps not too rosy. They're well off their highs now. They hit a high of nearly $100 back in late September. Today they're trading 73.79, off about almost 5% again on the day. They're lighting it up from an options perspective as well. They do about 3,000 contracts a day. Not bad. 3,300, doing about 13,000 so far today. About 3-to-1 calls over puts, which is intriguing as well. And the reason, of course, they're getting crushed, amongst other things, is they've had a huge international expansion. And Mr. Uncle Mike and Mr. Meatball, I bet you can't guess where their huge international event coming up in like a week or two, which country do you think it's in?
Canada.
Yeah, take a guess. Where's like one of the worst places on the planet to hold a big event right now?
Saudi Arabia.
Yes, that's exactly where it is.
Serious?
They have a massive deal they inked earlier this year. That's one of the reasons the stock was up so much. They inked a huge 10-year deal.
Oh, I heard about this
with
thing.
Saudi
Yeah.
Arabia, and now now a week or two away from this event, they're getting huge pressure to cancel this thing, and it's just been crushing their stock and everything else.
Maybe what they should do is instead of doing like the main event there, they could do like the Washed Up Wrestlers League there. So we could have like the Honky Tonk Man getting a fight with Hacksaw Jim Duggan.
There you go. Bring the old school back.
Yeah.
I think
I'd pay for that.
The Iron Sheik still plays in Saudi Arabia, right? He's not horribly offensive, right?
Is he still alive?
I think so. I think he is. There's that documentary about him a few years ago, so I think he's still kicking around.
We could have Mr. Perfect versus Ravishing Rick Rude in the Dead Wrestlers fight.
I just think it's hilarious that this was part of the huge part of their stock run up. That, of course, and their TV deal were huge revenue drivers for them. But they inked a 10-year deal with Saudi Arabia not too long ago, and now all of a sudden it's coming back to bite them in the worst way possible. So yeah, looks like they're still holding firm to that event, even though tons of pressure to them to cancel that. And I don't think they've even started selling tickets yet, even though it's in a week or two. So that shows you how firm they are on that one. So a little bit of bad timing on their part. They're also got stuff going on here in the realm of a name we like to use a lot, even during the show. This is Twitter. Twitter actually getting some good news for a change. Stock up about 14% today, up nearly 4 handles, trading right around 31.30. They obviously came out with some good numbers. Ad revenue was 21 cents a share. That beat estimates for 14 cents. Also double of what they reported a year ago. So getting some love out there in the Twitter space. If you were reading our earnings move predictions here from the ORATS folks on the website, you'd see that they were pricing in about $4, exactly $4, which is almost exactly what they're moving today. And again, that's all we're talking about here. We're talking about move predictions. We're talking about, kind of in the immediate aftermath of the earnings. We're not talking, days and weeks later, because obviously things can happen beyond that. We're talking about the initial first blush move after the earnings. And it seems like the straddle was a pretty good predictor, pretty good prognosticator in that sense. In the past, they've moved about a little over $3, so and they've projected about $2.50 in the past. So they're kind of outperforming in a lot of metrics out there today. The stock, obviously, options lighting it up as well. They average about 120,000 contracts a day. Today, about 240, so pretty much double that on the tape already. About 1.5 to 1 calls over puts. It's not quite the explosive bias. We also got later on in the day here, we've got good old Amazon, a name you may be familiar with. You may be shopping at it right now as you listen to us with a different tab open, hopefully. Let's see, Amazon right around 17.45 even right now. Actually, no, just ticked again. Wait a second, Amazon will take a half a handle. Up 5% or nearly $81. So catching a lot of this NASDAQ updraft that's going on. And they haven't even announced their earnings yet. We've also got good old Google, a.k.a. Alphabet. Also up 3.5% or 37 handles, 1094. Amazon's pricing in about a 6% move right now, so a little over $100. And we've got Google, aka Alphabet, pricing in about 5%, so about $57 out there as well. We also have, if you're curious how things have broken down, buddies over there at ORATS have just put together just a crazy, huge report for you of all the big tickers that have popped off over the course of the week. Let me just look at it really quick. If you list, it's called the Earnings Move Results Report. Look for it on our website there. And if you do that, you'll find some names that have been moving quite a bit here that have dramatically outpaced their straddle to the upside or the downside. It's like one of the bigger movers right now. Nearly 3x their straddle here was actually, about 3x, is EFX. This is Equifax, our old friends of data breach infamy. They were pricing in about $4. They actually moved 15 handles to the downside. So about a 280% change to what they were expecting. The stock currently right around $100 here. So they were off about 15 handles. They were closing right around 115 there. So that one a big performer to the downside. We've also got, what is this? I think this is Xilinx, right? Yes, our old friend Xilinx here. This one also outperforming about 2.5 times their straddle. This one, they were pricing in about $285. They moved over $9, $9.83 to the upside there. So this one outperforming to the upside. Lots of big names breaking it down here. It's been interesting cycle so far. Gold Corp Inc. This is the cheapy one. They were pricing in 50 cents and they moved the $1.50. So 3x, there you go. So a lot of those names broken down for you there. You can find the whole report. There are many, many, many tickers there you can look at. So chances are if you find one, good old Softy as well. That's another one. They were pricing in, let's see, about $5, a little over $5, $5.12, and they moved about $5.50. So they were pretty much right in line. You know, recent quarters, I think it was about 2 quarters back is when they blew the doors off, about 3 or 4x what they were pricing in. But again, that's not every quarter. Softy usually a little bit more reliable than that. I said up about 5.5 handles. So they were about 9% off what they were pricing in terms of straddle. So that one actually surprisingly accurate. And AMD, we talked about them earlier. They were pricing in about 322. They moved about 337. Of course, that's not all they moved. We're talking again just the initial earnings blush here. So from the straddle perspective, at least initially, that was a pretty telling straddle here. Let's see if I can find a couple others. There are dozens, if not hundreds here of you guys to search through on your own. Chances are there's a ticker you trade. They broke it down for you here. Again, the Options Insider is the place to go to find all of that data. Let's see here really quickly. WWE, they were pricing in, let's see, $5. So they're kind of the other way. They were pricing in a $5 move. They moved 16 cents. So kind of the other way. Obviously, it's off now as well. So if you waited a little while, premium sellers, hopefully you got your stuff off quick. Premium buyers, you had a little bit of a chance if you were patient. But they were off. Their straddle outpriced by about 97%. So they missed the other way, which is kind of fascinating. Before we get into Odd Block really quickly, Mr. Meatball, any tickers and earnings lighting up your crazies in the pit chat, sir?
Yeah, like I said, AMD is now Reg Show and NVIDIA Reg Show. And, it's just gotten to the point of silliness on those. We're all watching, this pop today is on the back of Microsoft. And we're all watching to see what happens tomorrow with Intel and Google. But, one interesting discussion point is AT&T versus Verizon. And you talk about two very similar cousins. Well, if you hit the Reg Show list, even if it's not officially hard to borrow, Verizon has great earnings, goes up, yada, yada, yada. Everyone's happy, right? AT&T, very similar company, right? They basically do the same thing. They're both wireless companies, right? Misses earnings massively. So it just shows you who's executing and who's not. It'll be interesting to see kind of what the next leg looks like. We got by this time next Friday, every single major company in the top 10 names in the S&P will be done reporting, right? We had Microsoft last night, Procter & Gamble earlier in the week. That's 2. Then we have Google, Amazon, and Intel tonight and tomorrow morning. We have Apple next week, Facebook next week, ExxonMobil, Chevron Texaco, and then J&J. The last one is J&J. They report. I'm sorry, J&J will not be is the only one in there that is not reporting between now and next week. But 9 of the top 10, and there you go. And then the other piece, Tesla is one that we watch a lot, and that is certainly moving up. Yeah, J&J already had earnings. That earnings on the 16th. So that'll be everybody will be done. So you can, if this is a mega cap led market, then all the mega capping will be done.
Then it will be done. Speaking of done, we got to get rolling. We got to get going into the Odd Block.
It's time to break down the most interesting, unusual, and downright questionable options activity that's been identified by theoptionsinsider.com. It's time for the Odd Block.
All right, everybody, welcome to the Odd Block, the portion of the show we break down the weird, the wild, the whimsical, and things are certainly wild here. Mr. Meatball alluded to it on the Tesla front. By the way, Mr. Meatball, Mr. the Flowmaster listening in, says he doesn't see AMD on the hard to borrow list. I'll have to dig. I pulled up Reg Show, but it's only for yesterday. I think it's an old list here from NASDAQ. I don't see AMD on there either. But we'll dig into that in a little bit as we keep on rolling. First, let's dig into our old friend here, the highly volatile electric car manufacturer known as Tesla. I believe you refer to it as, this thing's averaging 250,000 contracts a day. Today already got 300,000 on the tape. This thing's up 7.7%, so back up over the 300 handle, 310, almost 311. This thing was well shy of it just a couple of days ago. Let's see, how low did we get? 252. Well, actually, no, the low, 252.5 was the low back on, the 22nd. So a mere 3 days ago. So you don't like the weather, you don't like the price level on Tesla, just wait 3 days and you got a new one. I believe this most recent rally, obviously on the heels of the NASDAQ rally, but also I believe there was an analyst who was formerly bearish on Tesla, now kind of having flipped the script. And that's enough to send the stock off to the races. It's also enough to light up these crazy town puts out here, and lighting it up they are today. The jam, let's go out and jam. Let's go to the pull put strip out in jam. Let's start with the pars here. The jam par puts 2,366 of those on the tape. Trading right around $140 right now, listeners. 52,000 open on the OI there, so very active. Our old friends, the things that kicked it all off, still the king of the hill in Tesla options land. The Jan 2019 50 puts. 1,600 of those on the tape. They're trading about 40 cents right now. 75,461 open on that strike. 250 of the 20 puts and 1,453 of the 10 puts on the tape. Those are trading a whopping 2 cents. 35,000 open on that strike. So it's just the OI alone is just... I think the technical term is crazy town. A little bit farther out, also lighting it up. The par puts in Jan 2020 doing about 500 and change. Also 500 and change of the 50 puts. There's 28,000 open each of those, so maybe some vertical action going on up there. Certainly the OI very linked out there. If you're wondering, the par puts trading about 1060. And the 50 puts trading about $4.20. Let's go on now to let's do some live reads in the old odd block, which we like to do here. Just pull up some names and see what the heck is going on. See what our Eye of Sauron has delivered us today. I have not looked at these previously, listeners, so we're all going to look at them together, which is kind of the fun. First off, what do we got here? Oh, a newcomer to the odd block. We got American Axle and Manufacturing Holdings Inc. Say that 5 times fast. Ticker symbol, Axle, appropriately enough. Trading today, $14.79, up about 33 cents or a little over 2%. This is a name that does about 1,700 contracts a day, so actually not bad from an odd block perspective. We do a lot of names that do a couple hundred contracts a day. This one today doing 6,200, 85 to 1 puts over calls. So let's dig into those calls, shall we, and see what is up. And in this case, we got to go far out here. This is long-term, I guess you can call this some put love. What do we got here? We got the Jan 21. Listen, it's the first time I think we talked about a 2021 contract on the odd block here. The 8 puts lighting it up here today for 78 cents. If you're wondering if these things are super wide, yeah, they're 40 cents a buck. So 60 cents wide on these things. This trade coming in right around 80 cents, 78 cents. So it seems like it has the whiff of buying, but with something this wide, you really never know. I'm going to go out on a limb, though, and say probably, let's see, for nearly 80 cents, 78 cents, doing it 6,000 times. Worth noting, all opening, there is 0 open interest, except for the strike above it. The 10 strike has about 7,000. So it could be potentially someone adding a little bit to extra hedge going on out there. Again, they have a bit of a dearth of strike selection out here. You got the 10s and the 8s, and that's kind of it. Now down to the 5s. So not a lot of choices when it comes to American Axle and Manufacturing Holdings, Inc. Let's go out and see what the heck's been going on in this name for the past year. Maybe that'll give us a little bit of clarity here. A year ago, it was trading $18, so a little bit north of where it is right now. Got up as high in the earnings as, 20 and a quarter. So it popped up back in November. Then it's kind of been vacillating all over ever since then. Got down to about $14 back in March. And then it got back up to 19 again back in September. So it's kind of been all over the place. Had about a 5-handle range over the course of the past year. Of course, that earnings spike up to 20. But even without that, it still was a pretty broad range all over the place. Now trending back down again, going from 19 back to 14 and change. So it looks like, Mr. Meatball, this looks like maybe just a bit of a long-term equity holder saying, I'm going to put on a little bit of downside just in case. Are you feeling that? Or do you think maybe this is more line in the sand type paper, as your colleague there, Mr. Rocklapser, likes to say?
Nah, I mean, 2021 stuff is almost always a long hedging with some sort with puts. So it's a hedger. It's almost certainly a hedger. I doubt it's a line. These don't feel line in the sandy.
Yeah, they don't really have that line in the sand. If they are doing it 2021, you're right. Not exactly the first choice for that. Since we got the Flowmaster listening in, I was just chatting with him in the studio last week. It was good to have him in person. We're going to play along. We're going to hit that magical, mythical odd block button that he built into the trade alert. We're going to spin the wheel there and see what that brings up for us here as well. A little bit of fun live action here. What is it? Oh, it gives us PA. Plains All-American Pipeline LP. Ticker symbol PA, P-A-A. Another newcomer here on the old odd block. Let's see. This one trading about 22 and a half, up about 40 cents on the day today. It's the name it does. 2,500 contracts a day. Again, not bad for odd block volume. Today doing about 6,000. 90 to 1 calls over puts. I love these heavily biased paper out here. Let's dig into those puts, shall we? All right, here we go. Yeah, it was the D's quarter calls going up 5,600 times for, what do we got, 26 cents, or pretty much a tick off the bid. They were 25 at 35 when they went up for 26 cents. Again, 5,600 times, all opening, only 2 contracts open on this strike. So this one appears to be maybe a little bit straightforward too. Maybe a little bit of the old upside overwriting action, taking a nice 26 cents in, 5,600 times. Let's look at the old chart again. Let's see what's been happening over the past year in PA. And a year ago, we were about $4 shy of where we are right now. It was right around 18 and a half or close to it. And now, of course, we've rallied, got all the way up back in August to 27 and a quarter. So things had quite a range again. Come off that, we're kind of in the middle of that range right now, 22.40. So right at pretty much splitting the uprights there between the high and the low for the past year. Sounds like our friend here is okay with a little bit of overwrite action going up here. Mr. Meatball, you feeling that as well on the old overwrite front, taking a nice quarter or so home 5,600 times?
Yeah, I believe that is exactly what is going on. And let me just, yeah. And which makes sense, right? You know, it's nicely up on the year. You know, that's kind of, you know, it's not bad looking. It's not bad looking at all.
Not bad looking, huh? I like it. It's fair praise. I have a joke there, but I won't use it that way.
Last couple days, kind of ugly. But, you know, nice little rally today. Got earnings next week.
Does indeed. This is obviously in the D cycle, so a little bit past the earnings, but that could always be a bit of a driver as well. Let's hit that. Let's spin that odd block button, courtesy of the old Trade Alert platform one more time. It's kind of fun to just do it live and see what we get. We love a lot of different platforms, but when the Flowmaster's here, we like to play with the Trade Alert. He was so nice to build us that special tool that we have. No one else can use, listeners. It's just for us, so don't get your hopes up. All right. We got here another newcomer. This is why it's fun to do. Mainstay Defined Term Municipal Opportunities. What is this? Ticker symbol MMD. Say that one 5 times fast. Good grief. Trading today, $19.59, up about 2.2% or about 42 cents here on the day. This is the one. This might be so new. I don't know. I'm hitting the wrong button. That's why I was. Wait a minute. There's no options on this bad boy, but I hit the wrong. I typed in MMD. I meant MMP, listeners. This is much easier, much more mainstream, as the name implies. This is Magellan Midstream Partners, ticker symbol MMP. This one trading 62.76, pretty much unched on the day. This is the name that does about 700 contracts a day. Today doing about 5,000, about 72 to 1 calls over puts. Let's see what we got here. Let's go out a full year. I was trading about $5 north of where it is right now, 67 and a half about a year ago. Got down as low as 54 and change back in March. Then it kind of bounced back up to the 72 level again. So this is another one that's kind of not quite splitting the uprights, but pretty close to it right now here in the middle of its recent range here at 62.76. And this one, Mr. Meatball, we got 5,000 of the Jan Callpalooza again today. 5,000 of the Jan 67.5s going up for 65 cents right on the bid for, again, 65 cents, 5,000 times, all open in paper, not enough OI to cover this one. Mr. Meatball, this one has a bit of a whiff and feel of a little bit of overriding action. Certainly, if you look at the chart, you can see why someone maybe would not be reticent to dump it at that level. What's your call? You feeling override here as well, sir, to clean us out here on the odd block?
Yeah, and that's a nice level to override at. You're right at the 200-day moving average at 67.5, and then you're collecting a decent amount. So I like it.
You know what I like? I like hearing from our listeners. Let's get to it then with a little bit of the old mail block.
It's time to take your seat on the All-Star panel as we read your emails, tweets, Facebook messages, website comments, and much more. It's time for the Mail Block.
All right, everybody. Welcome to the Odd Block, the portion of the show where we get... No, I'm sorry, that was the old segment. This is the Mail Block. Got so many shows going on today that I got multiple segments on the brain. The Mail Block's where we talk to you guys. And you guys often talk back to us with interesting, sometimes profane things to say, but usually very interesting. That's only when I make fun of T-Vix that people get angry, or Tesla, or take your pick. But I digress. Let's get on to today's, today's action. We asked you guys at the beginning of the week. It's a big week for earnings. A lot of things popping off. What's hitting your collective tape? We gave you 4 choices. If you wanted to write in with others, you were welcome to as well. We gave you good old softy, Microsoft. Gave you Amazon. Gave you the old Google, a.k.a. Alphabet. Or the old Twitters. And earlier in the week, there was a name leading which kind of surprised me. Now it's kind of shifting a little bit. Let's start with you, Uncle Mike, sir. Which of those 4, if you have a personal preference, have at it. But also, B, which of those 4 do you think our audience is going for?
I'll go with, I'll say Twitter. And my earnings preference is as typical to just try and shield myself against the craziness for these couple of days.
Shield yourself from the madness. Mr. Meatball, do you have a preference amongst those 4? And also, what do you think our audience, the hardcores, are choosing? Are you channeling Andrew? All right, I'm going to do my best Mark impersonations. I choose Alphabet. There you go. Did I sound tinny enough, Mr. Meatball? Mr. Uncle Mike? Did that sound like him? Did I confuse you?
It works for me.
Yeah, okay, he chose Alphabet. And he's wrong, because actually, it was early in the week. It was Twitter, which surprised me by a pretty hefty margin. Everyone was piling into Twitter. Maybe now it's kind of a bit of a recency bias. Twitter's already in the rearview mirror. They're piling into Amazon, so some late votes coming in for Amazon now, shifting the tide. Now 34% for Amazon, 28% for Microsoft. That's number 2. And then number 3, Twitter kind of dropping to number 3 here, 27%. And the distant 4th place there is Alphabet, only 11%. Not a lot of love. This kind of dovetails what we're seeing in the space too. Alphabet, ever since the whole spin-off or kind of aggregation into Alphabet, hasn't really gotten a lot of the options love that it used to out there. And this again being reflected. This poll will still go at the end of the week, so we're not just going through the earnings day itself. So if you haven't played, get on over to options. Make your voice heard there, folks. Let's see here. We got lots of questions. Where should we go here? This is a fun one. We kind of talked about this, I think, on one of our other programs, but it's a fun one to kind of discuss here. This comes from Ron S6. He's got a pretty straightforward question, Mr. Uncle Mike, but kind of a fun one. And again, it's kind of subjective, which is kind of interesting about it. He wants to know quite simply, what's your suggested minimum account size to start trading options? So obviously, there's a lot that goes into this. What kind of strategies you want to do? Obviously, some are more capital intensive than others. A bunch of other things that can go into it. How many different trades you want to put on? All that fun stuff. So there's a lot of different ways to break it down. I had my chance to weigh in this one earlier, so I'll give you a chance, Mr. Uncle Mike. What are you feeling when someone comes to you, a new client? Let's say they got, $5,000 burning a hole in their pocket. They want to open an options account. What do you tell them, sir?
I tell them, welcome aboard. But in terms of the minimum itself, I mean, you could do it with a few $100s, but it's difficult to do. if you're trying to start with a couple $100 and you're looking to trade aggressively, then you better win a lot in the early rounds of this, or it's just not going to work. So I think that the way with which the smallest amount you could do any type of trading, get some wins and get some losses would be, I would say, in the $3,000 level, and I think that's probably even on the low end, personally.
Yeah, that'd be kind of rough. I mean, you could do it, obviously, but you'd be kind of limited in what you could do. You have to do very risk-mitigated type trades to really get any decent size to do anything. You couldn't go out and do a size stock substitution or something like that, or sling a lot of straddles or anything along those lines. But again, not everyone wants to do that. Mr. Meatball, are you back there, sir? Have you rejoined us? There you are. Okay. Did you hear my impression of you? I thought it was pretty good, actually. I thought it was kind of spot on.
It was not bad at all.
I got to work on I can get a little tinnier, I think, but I was close.
Yeah, no, it was pretty good. So the one thing on the poll, it's funny that you're surprised that a poll posted on Twitter would have Twitter leading.
Well, we've done it in the past, and Twitter has been like a distant fourth. So yeah, this time all of a sudden getting some love.
Well, and lo and behold, it had made an outsized move, huh? So
Twitter, leading indicator for Twitter. Who'd have thunk it?
Anyway, I'm what's the minimum account size? Yeah, I'm with Mike. $2,500, $3,000. Real, for setting up some kind of longer term trades, some sort of if you're going to do some sort of kind of long replacement strategy, I like diagonals, things like that. Something where you're, doing that type of stuff. If you're talking like crazy speculative type of stuff, you probably need a little more than that.
Speaking of a little more, we have someone writing in here. What was this guy's name? In the finite idea, I like that handle, saying he hasn't forgotten about this one, and he sends a relink to a tweet, a topic we were talking about earlier. One of our other listeners, I think it was Pat Hennessy, sent us in about a few weeks back for paper picking up what he termed a size hedge out there in the SPX 75,000 of the 2475 2400 put verticals for 45 cents. This guy wrote into saying, "Hey, I forgot about it. Is it still open? Let's all see together, shall we, Mr. Finite Idea?" Let's look here. It was the 31st, expiring on the 31st of October. So it was in the weeklies. It wasn't monthly OC. And let's see. It was 2475. Looking here right now. Yep, 71,000 still open of those bad boys. And the 2400 was the other strike. 83,000 open there. So I'm going to go out on a very far and wide limb and say, yes, it is still open, which is intriguing. If this guy, these puts certainly got a pop. Let's look at the 2475s and see how they've fared. They're trading right around 260 right now. These things got as high, they opened. Wow, these things talk about your Vega effect, have been all over the place. 455, they traded as high. I don't know if they traded at 670 at one point back in kind of the nadir of yesterday's sell-off there when things were getting a little bit worrisome. People were paying through the nose, nearly $7 for these things. So if this guy put this on as his proverbial hedge, they traded as high as 870 back on the 12th. I think, and they were still open there, 70,000 open there. So these things have had quite the range from $1 and change all the way up to nearly $9 over the course of the past couple of weeks. So our friend here, if he wanted a hedge, he had ample opportunities to take them off for a substantial level, and yet he did not. Mr. Meatball, what does that say to you here about someone putting on size far out of the monies in the weeklies, getting what he was looking for, and then I know you're a big fan of when you have a hedge taking it off, right?
Yeah, but I'm not sure this was a hedge. This could be against something else. We don't know exactly what he's doing. And he may have something else on in some other thing. It might be a dispersion trade. This could be against, a bunch of put spreads, things like that. That's really what I think is kind of interesting. That we don't really 100% know.
No, well, speak for yourself. I have my crystal ball, so I can see into everyone's true intent at all times, sir, and see what they have on opposite. Yeah, obviously this guy's got other things cooking, which is why I kind of laughed when they first wrote it in and said this is a hedge, because you never know what these guys have cooking over here. So if it was indeed a hedge, he had an opportunity to take it off. Maybe he couldn't unwind all the other crazy stuff he has, so he needs to keep that on. Clearly, for some reason, he forsook the $9 and change, or the multiple percentage profit he had on this spread. So chances are he had something else afoot there that was taking his full attention on this one. Let's wrap it up with a fun, quick one here. This comes from just Tony. No crazy name, just Tony. Tony, wants to know, is HMNY the most option-like stock on the planet? Ah, yes, our old friends. Helios and Matheson Analytics, Inc. I haven't talked about this one in a while, since the last time someone wrote in about it. This thing has been, to say it's been on a death spiral, I think is unfair to death spirals. This one has kind of been all over the place. It has a few, look at the chart, it's really fun if you haven't done so in a while, listeners, because it had that crazy spike recently. It was trading 12, 13 cents, and it spiked up to like $15. They keep doing all these funky reverse splits and funky cash infusions, and that money just vanishes almost instantly. And the stock went from $15 on July 25th to 77 cents on the 30th and 21 cents on the 1st of August. Within a week, pretty much the entirety of that infusion had been gone. Now it's been hovering around a penny for the better part of forever. Obviously, at a penny and 2 cents, it's not really optionable. So from our perspective, it's not lighting it up. Back when it was optionable, it was averaging about 300 contracts a day. I know if the Viceroy was here, he would be deeply offended to even be discussing this name. So yes, I will go out on a limb and say, sure, why not? This is the most option-like stock on the planet, because the stock is literally an option. You have no need for options when the stock is a penny at 2 cents. So if you want to have a flyer, money you never want to see again, go crazy. Go for a penny. In for a penny, in for a pound, as they say. Yes, our old friend HMNY. Oh, how the mighty. Again, if you're not familiar with listeners, they are, of course, the parent company, holding company of MoviePass, an industry, not quite an industry, a name, a firm that has been under some heat of late. And speaking of late, we're getting late, so we got to keep on rolling right into our final segment. It is time to go around the block.
It's time to tell you what we'll be watching on our trading screens until the next episode. It's time for Around the Block.
All right, listeners, I touched earlier on some big names we have popping off today after the bell. They include Amazon, which is pricing in right around 6% right now, and Alphabet, so about a little over $100, and Alphabet right around 5%, so close to $60 is what they're pricing in. Again, we should have those ORAS reports up on the site later today that'll have the full breakdowns for all of those names. If you are indeed so inclined, you can always go back and check as well as to the previous moves and how they all played out this week. In terms of other names popping off today, you got Chipotle, our old friend. Kind of formerly, they were the stealth Apple for a while there. Those two have kind of disassociated itself, and I don't know if you can really call Chipotle stealth anything anymore after their myriad salmonella outbreaks kind of took the stealth off the rose there. We've also got Snap, coming out after the bell. I know a lot of you have been writing in with your Snap love or lack thereof. So today you have a chance to express it. Snap hovering right around $7, $6.91 right now, up about 5% today. Chipotle is $422.50, up nearly $10, or a little over 2% out there. Intel also popping up. My old stomping grounds of Intel, good old INTC, $44.50, up nearly 5%, or about $2 on the day. They're popping off after the bell as well. You got a bunch of names, Gilead, all those. And then tomorrow we have some local names, Aon, and then good old Moody's, and even Goodyear, if you're so inclined, for the tires. Let's go back around the horn. Mr. Uncle Mac, we'll start with you, sir. What do you keep an eye on, sir? What's keeping you busy in these myriad sell-offs and now rally hoes?
Myriad sell-offs and now rally hoes. Just watching to see if we can hold on to the the minor gains that we still have for this year. I think we're at a key point right now, and that we're right back to where we started pretty much at the beginning of the year, watching the macro news. If we get a deal with China, reporters in Saudi Arabia. By the way, I think Vince McMahon and Donald Trump are close friends. Maybe the WWE had a hand in this somehow. Who knows? Yeah, just watching everything because there is a lot of things to watch right now.
Mr. Meatball, same thing for you, sir. Are you? What are you up to? What are you up to? But also, what are you watching?
I think the earnings tonight are going to be really important. If those come through and are good, I think we make a nice run in the S&P right back to the 200-day moving average. and then who knows from there. This sell-off smells like punch in the face and then crazy rally into 2019. And, if we make that bounce to the 200 at 2770, then I would not be surprised. So, and then I'm watching VIX. There's a lot of most of the action I've seen today in the options has been bearish volatility. Although there's been some strangles and some things like that, almost everything I've seen has been call sellers and call spread sellers and things like that. About the only major purchase I've seen in VIX itself is the Note 35s, where probably 50 Cent paid 52 cents for 40,000. But I just don't see anything really nuts out there that makes me want to think that there's a huge leg up in VIX coming. And the fact that we could not get a new high VIX yesterday makes me think that while we've been dropping, hedgers have been selling. So kind of interesting.
We'll have to leave it there, listeners. That music means we are done. Don't worry, don't fret. If you're saying, I haven't gotten enough of you guys yet today, don't worry, we'll be back in exactly 30 minutes to talk a lot of equities, I'm assuming, and some volatility and some skew, as well as a whole bunch of other fun stuff, crude, gold, all the other fun stuff coming up on TWIFO in 32 minutes from now. So yeah, see, well, that'll be kind of fun. Maybe we'll get Uncle Mike to join us. Uncle Mike, what are you doing in half an hour, sir?
Not able to make it. I apologize.
He's gone. See, he left us already. No, Uncle Mike, what's cooking in the land of St. Charles, sir?
Well, we're going to be getting our local event starting up soon, so keep posted to our website for more information on that. And in the meantime, if you are looking for a financial advisor that views times like this as a potential opportunity and not a reason to hide under your desk and cry, feel free to contact me. Go to my website, stcharleswealth.com, or give me a call directly at 312-212-3531.
There you go. Hit the man up, stcharleswealth.com, to learn more. And Mr. Meatball, if I want to, VIX is kind of moving. Things are happening in VIX land. If I want to learn more about good old VIX, where should I go? What should I do?
Yeah, you can come to optionpit.com, and we're actually doing a webinar tonight on weekly and daily option trading. Go to optionpit.com/weekly, weekly, no S, and you can see me talk shop for a couple hour or so tonight at 8:30 Eastern time.
There you go. Check them out, optionpit.com. And I will, of course, until the next time we gather together, I will work on my meatball impression so I can get an even tinnier. It's hard for my deep baritone voice to go up that high, but I'll work on it. And next time we get, maybe by tomorrow, Volviews, I'll have it perfected. We shall see. And on behalf of the meatball and Uncle Mike and myself, I want to thank all of you for downloading, streaming, subscribing, sending in such great questions. If you're listening live, stay tuned. We'll actually pump some fun stuff in there for you, some other shows. Keep you busy, keep you entertained over the course of the next 30 minutes. And we'll be back at 1:30 to talk a little bit of futures options with some TWIFO.
The preceding program was a production of the Options Insider Radio Network. For more quality options programs, visit www.theoptionsinsider.com or search for Options Insider Radio Network in your podcast provider of choice. Listeners can also access all of our programming through our mobile app, available in iTunes and on Google Play. Don't forget to follow along with your favorite programs and submit your own questions for the hosts at twitter.com/options, facebook.com/theoptionsinsider, or via questions at theoptionsinsider.com.